Welcome to Melanated Rising, where we inspire, uplift, and ignite Black creatives, all while changing the narratives around Blackness. What does it mean to exist Black in this world today with our many intersections? That's exactly what we explore, the challenges, the beauty, and the brilliance. Every episode is a look at what is possible when Black creatives stand in our undeniable power. Welcome back for another episode of Melanated Rising. We are here for episode 27, and I am your host, Kristen Iris. I am a film producer, speaker, and coach who specifically works with Black creatives, creative being person, because we are all creative. I specifically work with Black creatives on cultivating liberation, joy, and power by doing the deep personal work that you need to dismantle and heal so you can step big into your creative work and have a powerful social impact. So we are here for this show, and I am so glad to have you. If you are a new listener, welcome. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back. Thank you for coming on back to the show. We are talking today about blocking your blessings, blocking opportunity, blocking gifts that you are wanting, that you're needing, that you're asking for, and that you are putting up barriers to that don't need to happen. So it's going to be a good episode here because I am going to share actually an exchange that I had with someone that really inspired this topic. But before I dive in, I want to let you know that I have for you a brand new 4-part video series called Stepping Into Your Black Creative Power. I definitely want to have you guys go and check that out at kristeniris.com/Oreo series. And that's where you can go. It's totally free, 4-part video series. Learn how to step into your Black creative power by understanding and breaking through those most pervasive messages about how you're not enough, and that is around your Blackness. So the 4-part video series is going to help you to explore your Oreo complex, explore how those messages of not enoughness have been affecting you, and give you my what is now an 8-step framework for dismantling and breaking through and creating powerful change. So again, that is at kristeniris.com/Oreo series. Check it out. And let's dive into today's topic. So today is all about, I'm giving you this message to stop blocking your blessings, stop blocking opportunities, stop blocking gifts. And this is an important one because there are a lot of ways that we block the very things that we've been asking for, the very things that we want, that we need, and don't even realize that we're doing it. Right? So where did this inspiration or where did this topic come from? It came from an actual interaction that I had with someone online. And so I have started doing 15-minute hot seat coaching. It's free coaching that goes on my YouTube channel. And I had reached out. I actually haven't even announced it publicly yet, but I had reached out to a couple of people and was like, hey, I'm doing this. It's a little bit of free coaching. It goes on my YouTube. Do you want in? So I had reached out to someone that had been interested in my program, my fall program, and wasn't able to do it. And so I was like, it seems like she might want a little bit more guidance. She was obviously looking for some coaching. So I reached out to her. I offered it to her. I told her it was free. I was like, you get this free coaching. She was like, oh my God, thank you. She said yes. And then I didn't hear anything. So I had sent her the link to book and all of that. And so I didn't hear anything. So I followed up after about, 5 days or so. And I was like, hey, are you still interested? I didn't see you book. And her response was, I can't afford that right now. Now, mind you, this is a free 15-minute coaching. Free, completely free. And that's what I said. I said, you can't afford free 15-minute coaching? And she was like, oh, it's free? Okay. Where do I sign up? And I was like, interesting. But it immediately sparked this topic for me because this was all done by Messenger. So it was all in our messages. This was on Instagram. It was all in our messages. Like literally the comment, the thing that I had left right before I had followed up and was like, hey, are you still interested? I didn't see you book. I'd love to get you in, was the link to book and all of the information. So for me, what I realized in that moment with this person is they immediately put up a block. You know, like they had this block to the program. Like right now they can't afford it. That's fine. But like they immediately put up this block. They had this opportunity to get this coaching that they wanted. And their immediate response, after they had already said yes, after they knew it was free, they had already said yes. I had given them everything they needed to just go and book. Their response was as some reason as to why they couldn't do it. And a reason that was not actually a barrier, right? So they put up a barrier that did not exist. They put up their own barrier that did not exist. And what this tells me is that, and they're not the only person who does this, but what it tells me is that this person is so used to not having access, they're so used to not being able to do things, that it has now become part of their like mentality is, no, I can't do it. No, I can't do it. No, this isn't available to me. And it is now such an automatic response for them that that's immediately what they do, even when there's no barrier, right? So they're not the only person who does this. There are lots of people who do this. Is like there's an opportunity that comes up. There's somebody is offering help. There's some kind of gift somebody wants to give them. And their automatic response is some reason as to why they can't accept it. Some reason as to why they can't say yes. Some reason as to why it's not available to them. Even if it's a barrier that they're putting up that doesn't exist. All right, now I kind of used to do something like this, not quite to this extent, but I am a problem solver. I'm a really good problem solver. And I'm a really good problem solver now. And in the past, I'm also a recovered perfectionist. So in the past, it's like if something wasn't the absolute perfect option, it wasn't good enough, right? It wasn't good enough, or there was something wrong with it, or I would find some reason. So if I had a problem, let's say I reach out to a friend, like, man, I'm not sure what to do about this. They'd be like, well, have you tried this? Can you try that? And it's like every suggestion, instead of looking at how can I make this work? Or can this even work for me? How could I make this work for me? Maybe this part won't work, but this part will. Instead, it was, well, let me find the way that this wouldn't work. Because I guess in my head, it's like, if I can find the way that it wouldn't work, then I could just eliminate that option and go to the next one. I don't know. Maybe that's what I was thinking with it. But that's not helpful because it eliminates things that could actually be viable options. Maybe it just needs a little tinkering. Or maybe I'm putting up a barrier that really doesn't even need to be there. I'm just putting it up there because it's not perfect enough, or it's not something that I really want to do. So let me find a reason as to, why it's not going to work. But I used to do that. I used to put up these barriers that were not that they weren't real barriers, but they didn't have to be. They didn't have to be. It's like, well, I can't do that because, I can't even think of an example, but I know I used to do this all the time. I used to do it all the time. And I know I used to do it all the time because I feel like I had an exchange with a friend of mine where she was trying to help me like problem solve and coming up with these different ideas. And all the ideas are coming from her. I think I had like one idea and all the ideas are coming from her. And I was like, well, that's not going to work because of this. And that's not going to work because of this. And she was like, okay, well, girl, at some point you're going to have to find something that works. So like, maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it's not the exact solution that you want, but that doesn't mean that it can't work. Like, you need to figure out a way that maybe some of these things are options. And I was like, damn, I've really been like hard on these options. Like, I've been treating these options with that same like perfectionism mentality that I have for myself, is like, it has to be perfect or it's not good enough, and that's where I made a shift. And I don't even know exactly how long ago this was, but I'm pretty sure I was in this apartment that I used to live in because I'm having like this visual memory of it. But I had like that moment where I was like, wow, I've really been blocking a lot of stuff, and maybe I should just look at, okay, well, how can I make this work? Is this an option? Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it's not exactly what I want to do, but maybe I can make it work and it's going to solve the problem. Maybe I can make it work and it'll be better than, whatever perfect solution I think is out there but haven't found, that might not actually even be out there in the first place. Right? So that's where I started to shift, and I started to change and be like, all right, I was actually a problem solver. Like, all right, let me find solutions. And that's why now I'm so good at problem solving, because it's like, how can I make this work? But it's not just in a problem. It's if there's something that you want to do, instead of being like, oh, I can't because, or I'm not there, or I don't have this credential or whatever, it's like, well, what are the ways that you can do it? What's a step that you can take now? Maybe you can't take the big step. So I'm actually thinking about me in film right now. And a year ago when I was having these big dreams of being in film, but I was still, actually it was a little earlier than a year. It was like a year and a quarter ago. I had these big ideas about film and I was like, okay, well, that's for the future. That's for the future. It's not something I'm working on right now, and that's fine. But an opportunity, actually it wasn't an opportunity, I created an opportunity, but something came up and I was like, I really want to do this, but I mean, I can't possibly, I don't have any experience, I don't have blah, 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 I don't have any connection to this person, and it was reaching out to someone, and I was like, you know what, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can take this step and get into film sooner, years sooner than I thought than I was planning to. Like, maybe this isn't something I have to wait on. And having that mentality of like, well, how can I make this work? Or how can I move this forward? That made a huge difference because now I'm in film. Now I am a film producer. I'm working on multiple projects right now, and it's only been a year later. So it's not just when you're solving a problem, it's when there's an opportunity. It's even looking for opportunities. There's so many different ways that we block ourselves, that we put up barriers, that we don't even look for the doors that are open for us because we have this mindset that it's not accessible to us, that it's not something that we can do. And that's where you have to question, as Black people, where that mindset comes from. Where do those ideas come from that this is not accessible, that this is not something I could do? And that's what I want to talk about next, is some of these nuances and some of the historical and social conditionings that play into this. So the first thing is, as Black people, we are told that we have to earn good things, right? This is centuries in the making, guys. These are the remnants of slavery. Okay, we are told that we have to earn good things. You have to work hard to get rewards. You have to do this. You have to be nice. You have to be nice. You have to do all kinds of things to earn good things. That you have to earn good things. First of all, you're not just entitled to good things just for being a human being, just for being like a person. You have to earn it. Okay, now that's a little different from white people. White people just constantly get good things. They have this kind of like entitlement because the world is really built for whiteness. It's built for the advancement and upliftment of whiteness. But for us, the world isn't built for us. The world is actually built for other people to step on us to get to where they want to go and to push us down to get the things that they want. So we have this learned conditioning that you have to earn good things. The other thing is that historically and systemically, we as Black people are denied access. We're denied access to resources. We're denied access to money. We are denied access to quality education. We are denied access to equity. We're even denied access to wellness. Even wellness. Look at the wellness industry. The wellness industry is white as hell. Okay, it's white as hell. It is elitist. It's often extremely expensive, and for people who are typically marginalized, like Black folks and other intersections of Blackness, being disabled, sometimes being queer, like being trans, any of these things, that it puts us in a position of sometimes not having even the financial resources to be able to access these wellness spaces, wellness resources. So even wellness is something that we are denied. And because we are expected to be everyone's workhorse and we're conditioned to be everyone's workhorse, then we're in this position of like, I have to work myself to death. Oh, okay, and then I'm allowed a nap. Then I'm allowed to maybe take like a few hours off, but not like a whole day, right? And so we're also brought into this like overwork and overwhelm, and then denied wellness on top of that. So being denied access to resources historically and systemically plays into this mentality and this conditioning that we have around having to say no to things that are just being brought to us. I'm sorry, not being brought to us, but saying no to opportunities believing that we're not allowed access to it, or coming from that place of, no, this isn't available to me. It's because so many other things are not available to us. And that's part of how we need to start breaking this conditioning, is to realize that, well, we do have things that are available to us, or when opportunity comes, we can say yes, right? Now, the other thing is that white supremacy is a punishing system to BIPOC, to Black folks, to other people of color, but it is a punishing system, especially to Blackness and Black people. So there's this feeling of, like just look at the media, just look at the ways that Black people are constantly having the police called on them for literally just living. Okay, a girl is sleeping in the common room of her dorm and she gets the cops called on her. Okay, that's white supremacy in action, and that's us being punished just for nothing, for just being people, for just being people existing in the world. Okay, like you're carrying a soda down the street and someone wants to call the cops on you. Okay, you're having a barbecue in the park and someone wants to call the cops on you. Like, we have this reinforced all the time. So when you're already being punished just for existing, and we're constantly seeing ourselves being punished just for existing, when something good comes along or something is offered, or you even want to ask for something but you pull back, it can come with that feeling of, well, I can't say yes because then what will I owe? Or like, will this bite me in the ass later? So when this happens, it instills and reinforces this belief that we have to do everything alone. That it makes us isolate because we have to do everything alone, because I can't trust that this is just a good thing. I can't trust that I can, accept this gift or accept this opportunity or create this opportunity without being punished in some way. Because white supremacy is a bitch, right? So these things that play into the ways that we deny ourselves access to opportunity, the ways we say no to gifts, the ways that we put up barriers that don't exist, is part of it is this oppressive conditioning. So, this learned conditioning that we have from living in an oppressive society, and part of it is survival conditioning, right? Think about it. Like, if you're, even just the last thing I mentioned about like this being a punishing society, we are conditioned to believe that we will be punished. Look at the prison industrial complex. Look at the justice system. We are always more harshly punished than white people. So we're conditioned to this idea of punishment. We literally are learning to survive. We are operating out of survival. Denying ourselves access to things becomes a survival tactic because, well, it's just safer if I don't trust anybody. It's just safer if I don't take it. It's just safer if I rely on myself. It's just safer if I put up this barrier that doesn't exist. It's a survival tactic. It's a survival technique. And that comes, all of this is like remnants from slavery that is trickling down into modern day existence that is a big part psychological, but also literally our physical health and safety is also at risk on the streets. But in this context, when it comes to opportunity, that's psychological. We're trying to psychologically survive. We're trying to protect ourselves. And we're in such a habit of doing it that we don't even realize that we're actually blocking things that don't need to be blocked, right? So we already have enough barriers in our way as Black people. We have enough challenges. We have enough oppression coming against us. We have enough challenge navigating the world as Black folks. So we don't need to put up any extra barriers. We don't need to put up any extra hardships for ourselves. And we also don't need to deny ourselves access or help. And I feel like part of that is also this struggle that we have around worth and worthiness. And not only the messages from society that get instilled in us about how we're less worthy or we're not worthy of, good things. Like I said, having to earn good things. You're not just worthy of it by yourself, but the experiences that we personally, that you individually have, reinforce that messaging around worth. Now, as I mentioned, I have the 4-part video series, and it's centered around the Oreo complex. And if you've been listening to the show or you're familiar with me, you know that I work around a lot around the Oreo complex with people. And a big outcome, like impact of the Oreo complex, of being othered from blackness, of being told that you're not black enough or called white when you're not. One of the big, deep internalizations of that is issues around worth, is issues around being worthy of love, being worthy of affection, and literally being worthy of life. That, like, that messaging that you're not enough translates into, well, if I'm not enough and this person is rejecting me, or these people are rejecting me, or I'm not good enough to be in this community, I'm not good enough to be considered part of these people that I am a part of, it translates to I'm not worthy. And then it's I'm not worthy of affection, because you're literally being denied, like, affection. You're being denied acceptance. I'm not worthy of acceptance. And so that worthiness becomes this internalization, and the way that becomes externalized in the world can show up in a lot of ways. But one of them is I have to prove myself. One of them is I have to self-sacrifice, or being a people pleaser to try and basically earn affection, to earn acceptance, to earn respect. It shows up in a lot of other ways too. And actually, I dive into that in the 4-part video series, and also in my program. But the reason I want to bring this up is because this worthiness directly plays into this habit, or I should say lack of worthiness, or issues around worthiness, directly plays into an inability to accept good things, an inability to pursue opportunities that you really want, or create opportunities that you really want, and an inability to ask for help from the people that could really move you forward. Because deep, deep down, you're sitting on this inner belief that you're not actually worth it, that you're not worthy of the help, that you're not worthy of the gift, that you're not worthy of the opportunity, that you're not worthy of stepping forward and living your dreams. And this is part of the narrative that I really want to, actually not narrative, I should say this is part of the, like, hurt and the internalization and the conditioning that I really want to help Black people to break through. And it can even be that you know your worth, but you are conditioned, you have it in your head that other people won't see it. And that was me. That was me. So I was someone where I knew my worth, I knew my value, but I was constantly being undervalued. I was constantly being ignored. I was constantly being overlooked. And these are actual real things that happened in my life that reinforce that messaging. People aren't going to see you. They're not going to see your worth. They're not going to see your value. And so even though I knew my worth, I was conditioned to think that other people wouldn't. And so I had to do X, Y, and Z things to try and prove my worth, or to try and be seen, so that I wasn't feeling this, like, invisibility that was happening. Right? So if you are sitting there on this sense of either a deep, deep down feeling of unworthiness that is, for a lot of people, is like subconscious, or you know your worth, but you think that nobody else is going to see it, then it's going to make it hard for you to go and create those opportunities. It's going to make it hard for you when someone's like, hey, oh, I really like what you're doing. Hey, I can do this. I can help you out with it. And be like, oh, no, I can't. Like, how many times have you said that? Just ask yourself. How many times has someone been like, even if it's not like an opportunity, maybe they're like, oh, well, hey, I'll give you a ride home. It could be something as small as that. And you'd be like, oh, no, I couldn't possibly inconvenience you. I couldn't possibly accept your help. I couldn't possibly accept this kindness. We say no, even though that person's giving, that to them is a gift. That to them is they're showing you care, and you're denying it. You're putting up a barrier, you're denying the care for no reason, except the internalized ones around either not being worthy of it, that you haven't earned it, or that you're somehow going to owe them, and that it makes you selfish to accept it. Right? So there's so many other little ways that this plays out, where we're not taking advantage of things that we actually have every right to take advantage of, that we should take advantage of, that are going to advance us, that are going to help us, that are going to make us feel supported, that are going to provide for us, and we're saying no to them because of the internalizations, the internalized conditioning that we have. And so it's really important to start breaking out of that. Like, how do you dismantle that internalized conditioning? How do you even start catching yourself? Because this, like I said, this person that I talked about in the start of the episode, that right away after we had already established it was a free 15 minutes, that she was like, 5 days later, she was like, oh, I can't afford that right now, and put up that barrier that didn't need to be there. It's the same thing. She didn't even realize she was doing it. She didn't even realize she was putting up barriers that didn't need to be there. Not until I said something, right? It was so autopilot. So how do you start breaking that when it's so autopilot to put up a barrier? How do you start breaking that? So here's a couple of things that you can do, right? Because I gotta give you advice. I gotta give you like some guidelines on what to do with this. Now that we've kind of broken down how you might be blocking your blessings, your opportunities, your gifts, blocking help. One is when you say no. This is in the case of someone offering something to you, offering help, offering opportunity, offering to connect. When you say no to what is being offered, and it's something that you actually want, because I am a fan of saying no to things that you're like, I actually don't want this. This isn't for me. I don't want to be part of this. That is part of self-care, is actually saying no to things that do not feel good for you. But if it's something that you want or something that you need and you say no, then start asking yourself why. Like, really start digging into, why am I denying myself this? Okay, why am I saying no to this? I'll give you a real small example. I kind of mentioned this a little bit. If someone's like, oh, I'll give you a ride home. Now I love getting a ride because I don't have a car. And I live in Chicago, so just depending on where I am, I'd be like, yes, I would love a ride. But I went to an event once that was wicked far from where I lived. And it probably took me like an hour and, I don't know, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes on transit to get there. And by the time I was leaving, we're looking at like 10:30 p.m., not a great neighborhood, and a really long as fuck trip home. And it was an open mic, and so I had written like a quick little piece while I was there. I went up and performed it, and then afterwards, someone was like, I really appreciated your piece because you opening up about that experience opened the door for me to share my experience, because I wasn't the only one there doing it. And so for her, she was like, as a thank you, like, how are you getting home? I was like, oh, I was going to walk to the bus and take the bus to the train and then take the train. And she was like, you know what, this isn't a great neighborhood. I would like to get you an Uber home. And immediately I wanted to be like, oh no, no, I can't do that, because I was so far, and I'm like, this has got to be somewhere between a $20 or $30 ride. And I was like, I'm pretty far. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, I'm pretty far. Like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to? And she goes, yes. She's like, this is a way for me to say thank you. And that's what I realized in that moment, is like, when people give a gift, people who are not manipulative and transactional, I should say, but when people give a gift like this, like, that for her was a way of saying thank you. That for her was a way of showing care and showing love and showing appreciation to me. And so for me to deny that is I'm actually denying myself affection. I'm denying her care. I'm denying her appreciation. And for me to say yes is for me to accept that gratitude. And there's a beauty in that, and there's a power in that, because that also sends the message to me that I am also deserving of this care that she's showing. And we are deserving of that care. And so when she said it that way, I was like, oh, it kind of had that light bulb moment for me. And I had been about to be like, oh no, I can't. And I was like, you know what? I would really appreciate that, because that would get me home so much faster. And I accepted it. So it's little ways, but I had to question myself and be like, why do I want to say no to this? Like, what about me, what a part of my conditioning is telling me that I have to say no to this? And part of that is this idea of being a burden, is this like kind of deeper fear that I have around being a burden. And that's tied to like a money story and my history and things like that, which is just way too much to get into here. But that was part of the story in my head, was like, oh, don't be a burden to people. You can't accept this because then you're being a burden to her. And it's like, no, I'm not being a burden. I'm actually accepting the gratitude that she really wants to show me. I'm accepting the appreciation and the care that she really wants to show me. So that's a question to ask yourself. Like, why am I denying myself? And then where did I learn that? Like, where did I learn that I can't accept this? So you have to do a little bit of digging. You have to get in and peel away the layers. The other thing is, so like I said, is that inquiry. So the next thing is, stop saying I can't and either say I won't or how can I make this happen? So I'm going to start with I won't. When we say I can't, a lot of times it's not that you can't, it's that you're actually choosing not to. And we need to start taking more ownership of our decisions, right? So it's not I can't do this, which is I am actually unable to, this is completely not accessible. And we use that word can't for a lot of times for things that actually are accessible. We're just choosing not to access it, or we're choosing not to prioritize it in our life right now. And those are choices, and those choices are okay. It's okay not to prioritize something, but own that that's the decision you are making instead of pretending that it's out of your hands and saying that you can't and that it's not possible. There are actually some things that you can't do or you can't do in the moment. There are actually things that, or that are too risky or something like that. There are actual times to say I can't. But when you're choosing not to is not the time to say I can't. It's the time to say I won't. I am choosing not to prioritize this right now. So, for example, I had started, or someone had offered me a position in like their coaching program. God, I think this was like a year and a half ago, and I was going to say yes. And here's the thing that I don't like about a lot of things in the coaching industry is a lot of times coaches will like shame you for not saying yes. They'll shame you for like, you're not trying hard enough to make this happen. And I was like, when I thought about what I would have to do to like get the money together to make that happen, when I was already really struggling financially because I was like in a medical crisis and had already had a previous medical crisis. When I thought about what I had to do, I was like, this is so stressful. I'm not doing it. Like, this program sounds great. It sounds like something that I would like to do, but I'm not going to prioritize this right now. I am going to prioritize getting other things in my financial situation in a better place before I join any kind of coaching program, right? So that's that decision, that saying I won't instead of, oh, I can't afford it, I don't have the money, is no, I won't do this. I'm not prioritizing this right now. Put the power way back in my hands. It gave me all of the power back, actually, because I was owning that that was my decision. So if it's something that you're not doing, this is where I said you have to actually ask yourself, like, why am I denying myself this? Why am I saying no to this? That's something you can ask here too, is like, why am I saying I can't? Is it really that I can't, or is it that I won't? Is it that I'm not prioritizing? Is it that I'm not choosing to do it? Because if I'm not choosing to do it, I just need to own that that is the decision I'm making, right? Now, the next thing is how can I make this happen? And that's a different way of approaching it. Is like, one, either own that you're not going to do it, or look at how to make it happen. Instead of saying, oh, this is why it won't work, this is why I can't do it, this is why I can't take that step, I can't accept that gift, I can't reach out to that person for help, is how can I actually make this happen? Because when you ask, how can I make this happen? You are opening the doors for opportunity. You're opening the doors for so many possibilities for whatever it is that you're working towards to come into reality. Okay, so it might be, once you open up that question, it could be opportunities that are coming your way. It could be, oh, I'm thinking of this person, or I know this person who can connect me to this thing. There's so many things that open up when you actually just open up your mind to, well, it seems like this isn't something that's available right now, or it seems like something that's not accessible. Maybe it's not easy, but how can I make this happen? And then you can start getting to work to making it happen. If all you're looking at is all the reasons why it can't happen, that's literally all you're going to find. What you're looking for is what you're going to find. Just like me, like I said earlier, if somebody had a suggestion, if there was a possible solution, it was, what are the ways that this can't work? Well, if that's what I'm looking for, that's what the fuck I'm going to find. I'm not going to find ways that it's going to work. I'm not going to find ways to make it happen. I'm only going to find ways where it's wrong or it's not perfect or it's not good enough. But when you open it up and you're like, okay, how can I make this happen? Boom. Now you're in a totally different mind state. And now you're going to be looking for opportunities and different things that you may not even have even thought about before that are now open up to you just because you shifted your mindset on it, just because you shifted your approach, right? Okay, now the third thing is ask for help. Ask yourself, who has what I need? Who has the help that I need? Who can connect me to what I need? And then go and ask them. Because that is part of our conditioning as well that needs to be broken, is that we're not allowed to ask for help. We can't reach out to people. We have to do it alone. So when you start asking for help, you break that conditioning that you have to do it alone. You break that conditioning that you're not deserving of help. You break that conditioning that that you're going to have to owe or that you have to earn help from other people. And you also break that conditioning that you don't deserve it, that you're unworthy of it. Right? And it's not all going to break in one go, in one time that you ask someone for help, but it's part of breaking that pattern. When you stop isolating, you start asking for help, you start teaching yourself, I'm actually worthy of getting this help. I'm actually worthy of getting this connection to this other person. I'm actually worthy of bringing someone else in and seeing how they can support me. I'm worthy of that support. It changes. It's not just going to change what you're doing and the opportunities. It's not just going to change whatever your endeavor is or whatever it is that you're asking for help on. It's actually going to change the way that you think about yourself and the way that you approach life and opportunity and just so many things going forward. So many of those things are going to change just because you started asking for help, especially if you're someone like me who used to isolate. Like I used to isolate, used to do everything on my own. Part of that was the Oreo complex and this idea that people aren't going to see me anyway, so I got to go prove myself first. And I'm still actually even not working out of isolation exactly, but like kind of like the worthiness piece I've worked through, but like the isolation that I'm just in now, it's just such a habit of like, well, let me figure out how to do it on my own, that I have to like sometimes remind myself like, oh yeah, go and ask for help. Go ask this person. This person's already done it. Why not just go ask this person? It's just such a habit now that sometimes it does take conscious thought to remind myself, oh yeah, I can go ask someone for help. Oh yeah, this person knows this person and I can ask them to connect me. And that's totally fine, so that isolation piece, I am someone who is like that. You might be someone who's like that. And if that's the case, then asking for help, seeing who can connect you, seeing who has what you need, and being willing to speak up. And really, I mean, it's kind of a little bit of advocating for yourself and getting that help helps to break that conditioning for yourself. And it helps to break that, okay, let me isolate. And the less we isolate, actually, the stronger we are. Because like I said, white supremacy wants us to isolate. White supremacy wants us to do things on our own because we're not as strong when we do that. When we as Black people come together and help each other and uplift each other, holy shit, we're so much more powerful. White supremacy cannot actually uphold against all of that. That's why we have to work so hard to break these conditionings, to dismantle them so that we can come together, and not only for the advancement of the individual, but for the advancement of the collective, so that we can help each other. This is why I talk about so many of these things that I talk about, is to break all of that and to break us through that. And that's even like part of what we do in my program is the people come in, they've been isolated, they've been rejected from being called an Oreo, from their Blackness being policed or challenged, and coming together in a place where you're being supported is so powerful for them, because they're not only seeing people who are like them, who've had similar experiences, but maybe different experiences that they can learn from as well, but they're getting that support and that care and that love. And from that place, there's so much more power in what they can do because they've gotten that support and they know that they're worthy of it. They know that they're worthy of support. They know that they're worthy of love, of connection. And it changes the way you show up in the world when you break that conditioning. So stop blocking your blessings. Stop putting up barriers that don't exist. Stop putting up barriers that don't need to be there. Start navigating around some of the barriers that are there, because we already have to do that, okay? It's like going through a maze. Oh, well, this is a dead end. Okay, let me go back the other way. We already have enough barriers that we got to navigate through. So start navigating through them instead of looking for, how can I build up another wall around this maze? How can I wall myself in instead of getting to the prize at the center, whatever that is for you? So thank you so much for listening to this episode, for joining me in this topic, and I would love to hear what you guys think. Please feel free to comment on the post, which will be on my Patreon, patreon.com/melanatedrising. And before you go, I do want to mention my fall program, From Oreo to Empowered. That is an 8-week program. Now, if you've heard me in previous episodes, you've probably heard me talk about a 7-week program. It is now an 8-week program because I added a component that's going to be really powerful. Check it out. There are 2 tiers to choose from, so that I can have options for people at different economic levels, different situations. One tier is, I should say tier 1. Tier 1 is the actual small group coaching element. And then tier 2 is just the content and Facebook group. So you do get the exercises and video exercises and video trainings and the assignments for the week. You get the Facebook group with the community support. You just do not get that group coaching and that real personalized and deep down diving that we do on the group calls every week. So go check it out, kristeniris.com/Oreo. That's where you can get the program. And if you want to get a little teaser before that, you can always get the 4-part video series. Like I said, go check that out at kristeniris.com/Oreo series. And if you enjoyed this show, please make sure you subscribe so you get new episodes, and rate and review where you listen, but preferably iTunes, because it is the best way to help others find us and get the show out to more ears. And if you would like to support this podcast and the production of this show, because I am a one-woman show producer over here, you can go join my Patreon page at patreon.com/melanatedrising, which is also where you'll find the show notes and special videos that I do put up just for my patrons only. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Melanated Rising, and always remember to stand in your Black creative power.